The Taste of My Heartbreak EP is a collection of songs I wanted to do because it's the first time I've ever written a group of songs that are really meant to be together and have to be together because it's the arc of a breakup. And so often in breakup songs or even entire breakup albums, I feel like what you get from your friends or what you get from movies and things is like, you're so much better than him and he doesn't deserve you and like screw that and all these things. And it kind of simplifies the entire experience to, you know, you'll get over it and everything sucks and he sucks. And there's a lot of breakups where that's not how it feels and that's not the case. And there's so many shades of emotion in this breakup for me. And in the EP. And so that's kind of what I wanted to explore is there is just abject loneliness and sadness, but there is also playfulness and pettiness and anger and regret and finding that newfound sense of freedom. So it's so many things, and I really wanted to take people into the full emotional journey of being in the trenches of what that breakup was like before you've gotten to the other side. And, you know, just something was more nuanced for me than, you know, being excited to swear somebody off. So that's why I wanted to, that's how it came together. And that's the Taste of My Heartbreak EP. October 7th, 2018. Oh no, I had finished it by then. October 4th, 2018. Wow, my handwriting is... No one's ever gonna be able to read that. I never need to like lock my diary. Remember that in 2007? Taste of My Heartbreak is the title track because, well, first of all, I think that phrase is cool, and I think it kind of encompasses what the whole breakup's gonna be. But I think it's the most emotionally nuanced and complicated song because, so it's upbeat, it's kind of bouncy, it's kind of playful, and it just has a lot packed in there to me because part of it is knowing that the other person is heartbroken deep down and is going to be, but they're not showing that emotion. And I'm bursting with emotion and I'm in shock that it's over, I'm kind of angry, I'm all of these things, and the other person just isn't showing that emotion because they're not processing it yet. So Taste of My Heartbreak is kind of like, no, I want you to be just as mad as me right now. I want you to be just as sad as me right now, but you can't control that. So it's kind of just that initial, moment where it's over. It's not over tomorrow or in the future, it's over today. And you have to think back through your entire relationship. And of course you still love that person because it's the first day that it's all over. And I think the bridge, don't you think I deserve more than just some lazy texts, is the most anger that comes through in the song, but I did want it to still be playful and kind of have an upbeat rhythm and vibe to it. So that one just to me is the most complicated, and I was excited to put that one out first as the intro to the EP. And yeah, I hope you guys like that one, and I don't know how to end this. Dated Musician is the second song on the EP, and where we are kind of in the arc. So Taste of My Heartbreak was the shock and all of the mixed emotions. Here we are in Dated Musician, where you're sitting in this moment where the sadness and all of those other things haven't fully hit you, but what has hit you is that you're suddenly single again. And that's kind of exciting. There are all these things you haven't felt in a while, flirting you haven't done in a while, all these ways you kind of haven't thought about other people and about yourself in a long time. And it's really fun because you're kind of allowing yourself to romanticize things you're not supposed to romanticize. Everyone says, don't date a musician, especially in Nashville. It's kind of a joke because they're always on tour, they're always gone. But this song is kind of sitting in that and wanting what you're not supposed to have. And finding this sexiness and assertiveness and bringing that back to yourself and kind of letting all of the other negative emotions at the door and just letting yourself be that person on stage, the biggest version of yourself. And when I want people to listen to it, I want them to think of themselves as the hottest musicians in the room, the largest versions of themselves on that stage, just going for what they want and feeling that playfulness and that sexiness and leaving everything else at the door. And this song is the oldest kernel of an idea I had back when I was a freshman in college, before I had dated a musician actually. And I had a couple verses written, had the idea, but it just never clicked and getting it fleshed out. And so shout out to Autumn. We got in the room together and I knew that I could bring this to her, and it just flew. And then the rest was done, and we got to bring it to life in the studio. Sad Songs is the third song on the record, and it's a confessional, really. And so, what came before is we had the shock, we had the sexy playfulness, finding your freedom, and Sad Songs is sort of the part of the breakup where you're being inundated by the messages of, it'll be better this way, and you need to move on, and he wasn't the person for you, and all those things. And it's kind of having a full day of actively not thinking about them and, working on yourself and doing all of these things and moving on, and then being able to shut your bedroom door and cry over them. And, allowing yourself not to be the super strong, independent woman who doesn't miss him for a second, because you do. And, if you break up with someone, the hardest ones, of course, are the longer you spend with them, the more chunk of your life that you spent with them, and all these things are hitting you of what you didn't realize you were gonna miss, all the things that you didn't realize you were gonna have to process, and it's allowing yourself not to be strong for that night and to just let the floodgates open. Your Personality Sucks is the fourth track out of the 6-track EP. And this is kind of a special song because it's the only song that's not directly in the breakup trajectory. It's a little bit of a pivot point towards what else is going on in my life? Who are the other actors? What's happening there? And this song was inspired by a trip that I had gone on, and it was a wilderness trip, and it was a long period of time, and I went on it with a few people, and they turned out to be not the most fun to hang out with, and you're kind of stuck. So this song is kind of about all those people you might encounter in your life where you really get to know them, and you're like, why are you the way you are? This is you. You're really like this all the time. And we all have bad days, but so this song is about, just those people that you encounter that are just, and people make excuses for them and be like, well, that's just the way they are. It's just the way they are. But I feel like that's not a good excuse. You should always try to be a considerate person, someone that can just get along with people. And so I think that song was a little bit of playfulness and frustration of no, you can't just be like that. Then you suck. And I think everyone has a couple people in your life where if you just never saw them for 10 years, it would just be fine. Homebody is second to last song on the EP, and this one is definitely the part in the breakup where you're close to getting over that person, but there's kind of things coming up that you didn't realize were there. So this is definitely a night out at the bar, at the club, and this is kind of this bull in a china shop feeling. So you're there on a mission, there's this reckless feeling, there's anger, a little bit of angst, and kind of the goal of what you're doing when you're there is you're trying to have a good time, but not really even a great time. Your goal is to drink on some Finance Bros tab, ditch the shitty friend you came with, slow dance with a guy that you don't want to know his name and you never want to text him again. It's kind of feeling like you don't even have the emotional capacity to pretend like you like somebody. You don't even want to go on a date. You don't want to get to know them. You certainly don't want to go home with them because that's still too much. And you don't actually want to have any of those real emotions come up. You want to have a good time, but buried underneath that good time is just a lot of restlessness, and you don't have the heart to ask for someone's number or to even get their number because you don't want to see them the next day. You don't want any other person's energy or anything coming into your life. You're still trying to be single, but like the most single version of single. Good Intentions is the last song on the EP, and it's the perfect kind of closing of the arc because it's kind of after all the dust has cleared, after you think you've all said your piece, you think you got closure, you kind of went through this roller coaster of emotions of trying to get over them and not being over them and all the messiness of that, and you kind of think it's over. And where Good Intentions starts for me is my ex reached out after I thought everything was done and kind of offered to try again. And that was something I wasn't expecting and really hit me and kind of opened another Pandora's box of emotion of, asking yourself, could it work? You still love this person. There's definitely a part of you that wants to, but you just went through this whole thing. And so you're kind of looking back and trying to think like, well, can it? Should it? And sort of the painful truth is, all of these little events that happened in the breakup and before are little pieces of evidence that it's not supposed to be and that it's not meant to be. And it's kind of a song that's just as much a battle with myself as it is with the idea of getting back together. It's a battle with myself of trying to resist and trying to truly close the door and move on, and trying to remind yourself that even if you both have good intentions, even if this person has good intentions, that doesn't erase all of the things that happened, and it doesn't mean that everything can change, even if you want it to change, even if you want to approach everything in a different light. That doesn't mean it would go that way, because you've seen each other and you know each other and you know yourself, and you have to be honest with yourself that this is what it was and this is what it is, and Good Intentions doesn't mean it's going to work again or work this time. So it's really cracking open a new sort of set of emotions you didn't even know was there, but by the end, it feels like really quietly shutting the door, and you're really sure that time it's the final bit of closure, and that's the end.